Okay, green.
No.
Red.
No.
Purple.
No.
Yellow.
No.
Green.
No.
Dang it.
Keep going.
350 nanometers.
What? That's not enough. Hey guys, and welcome back to What's on the Fourth Floor. I'm your host, Claire Weekly, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
Ethan Goebbels.
CARSON green.
Today we'll start with a What's With That section, brought to you courtesy of Ethan.
Oh, yay. Okay, so I have another round of hypothetical questions, and they always bring about good discussions. My first one says, okay, you are offered a pill that makes you 25% more intelligent but permanently removes your hair, including your eyebrows. Do you take it?
Yes.
Yes. Resounding yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
resounding yes.
My whole thing is that it doesn't really matter. Like your eyebrows and hair. Like, okay, does it remove eyelashes though? Because I feel like eyelashes are kind of important.
Eyelashes are definitely more important.
Because
than
you know they
eyebrows.
block out
Yeah, I
dust
mean,
and stuff.
Technically, I think eyebrows technically have a reason
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they
for
do.
existing
There's
as
something.
well.
Well, I mean, it keeps
think
liquids from dripping in your eyes when you're in the shower. That's nice. That's
That is
nice.
nice.
Evolution was thinking
It-
for a minute. They're like, wait,
pretty
what
much
about
like
showers?
the eyelashes and the eyebrows. I think evolutionarily they do the same thing, or they're built for the same purpose to try to keep
Well,
stuff
eyelashes
out
help
of the eye.
keep
That's true.
bugs out of your eyes.
Because like,
Eyelashes?
I like
Yeah.
oh,
that.
like
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that.
okay.
Eyelashes also help keep like germs because when you like blink, they kind of collect all that stuff, so your eyelashes can get dirty, germy, technically.
Jeremy.
little tangent there. What?
So
eyelashes are they?
Well,
they're
no, 'cause
hairs.
now
Are
I'm-
they
now-
hairs?
I'm not sure. Because now I'm starting to think
But
about
I
it, and
feel
I'm like,
if I was 25% smarter, I could deal with not having eyelashes, or I would invent my own eyelashes.
but
or
I guess my
something.
only issue is
Right.
that hair has a like something to do with your body. Like your body has hair for a reason.
Mhm.
It doesn't just like I'm wondering like will there be health side effects by not having hair? That will
Why
like
don't you ask the nearest bald person?
but not just on your head, like your entire body, like
Well, it just said. Okay, it just said. Sorry.
because you said that you lose
It
all
just
your
said,
hair.
but removes your hair, including eyebrows. Okay. I guess you could interpret it as all of your body
Oh,
hair.
or were we only talking? Okay,
It just
that
says
might make it
removes your hair.
okay.
So if you want to think of it, I was thinking of it when it said hair, including your eyebrows. I was just thinking the hair on your head.
If it was just my hair on my head, I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I would say.
I guess I was interpreting it
body
as you
hair?
just lose all your hair, and I
I
was
was
like,
I mean, there are
also
people who
interpreting
don't.
it like
you
that.
exist without body hair for a long time in your
Mhm.
life.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I feel like there's
the
a
evolutionary
reason, though.
purpose to hair
Wasn't
is
it
no
like keep
longer
warm?
relevant.
Yeah, it was like to keep warm, and then we made clothes. I mean, like I'm
You're
not
not
wrong.
wrong.
I'm
You're
not
not
wrong. We
wrong.
made clothes, and then we don't need it anymore. But
That's yeah. I mean, that's the evolutionary purpose of fur is to keep warm.
yeah.
But so is fats.
So then,
They-
yeah, I would say, yeah, I would do it. I think because then
you can exist without body hair.
you can.
And I mean, if that's what it took to be 25% smarter, more intelligent,
That's true.
I'd do it. I think it's a brains over. I was not brains over brawn, but brains over
Hair.
brains over hair.
Brains over hair.
I mean, priorities.
Yeah, priorities. Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you really care about how you look? You know, that
Like,
gets
what
into
if
vanity.
Einstein was given that opportunity?
Oh, Einstein. Yeah.
that,
I feel like
that
that
would
would be
be
an improvement.
25% improvement.
Einstein already didn't care about his looks.
That's-
There's all sorts of stories about why his hair was frizzy, and you know, I thought it was just he had naturally had frizzy hair, but
Hmm.
the stories go that he just never took a shower. He was constantly like working on
he was just
his ideas.
I could
His
see that.
friends had to like force him to stop working. and take
They're
a
like, dude,
shower.
you stink. Come on.
I mean, I could see that he was a pretty nutty dude, but yeah. So 25.
mean-
We are all in
yeah,
agreement.
I'd say we're all in agreement on that.
if it had to always be nighttime or daytime, which would you choose and why?
I would say daytime.
Yeah, solar panels.
That's where I was going as well.
Solar Wait, what?
Well, I mean, if
'Cause-
it's always
Oh.
nighttime,
You could like
can
have a
solar
ton of energy.
So
Uh-huh.
you would choose it to try to solve the world's energy
Yeah.
crisis.
That was my thought. Because then if it was always sunny, you could just always have energy coming
Right.
from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That was torn because I would choose daytime,
Mhm.
but I would choose daytime because I know that sunlight has like positive health effects. Like a lack of sunlight that can actually,
Yeah, I know.
and I personally, I notice it. Like sunny, I don't know.
I
It's
like
probably
rainy
like a
days.
biological thing. You feel just happier on sunny days, but
No, I feel
I think it's the sunlight is what.
the first day it's cloudy, it's really nice because then I don't have to worry about getting a
So, yeah, would-
sunburn.
But
And
I also like rainy
and
days,
it,
but I
like,
wouldn't. I
it
wouldn't.
smells really nice out when it's raining.
So we could
Yeah.
have rainy days still.
Yeah, I'm
There just
assuming-
wouldn't be nighttime.
What I
Okay.
pictured is here's how I pictured the
Uh-oh.
astrophysical aspect of this is
2 stars.
so there's there's something called tidal breaking,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens with moons especially. So for instance,
Oh,
the moons
right.
of Jupiter, um, the moons of Jupiter, Pluto and Charon is another example of this, where the tidal forces on the moon elongates it, and so certain gravitational effects act on that elongated moon. It'll actually slow its rotation down to a point where it's completely locked in one place. Our moon is tidally
Yep.
locked. Our moon, it technically rotates as well as revolves around the Earth
But it rotates at the same rate
at the
that
same
it
rate.
revolves.
Exactly. So like the Earth has slowed it down to.
Well, that
to
should
the
happen
point-
to our Earth as well, right?
It happens
Eventually.
to any.
It
It happens to any orbiting
Exactly.
object.
So it just happens. It entirely depends on the forces of gravity at play.
Mhm.
So this is how I'm picturing it. If we suddenly were living on a planet that had been tidally locked by its star,
Yeah.
where only one side saw the sun and the other side did.
So you would take like a family vacation to the dark side of the Earth.
Yeah, I suppose you
Yeah.
could, just like visit. Well,
I mean,
I was
I'd be more
thinking about this.
concerned about plant life because we get a lot of our. well,
Okay, what if
all
we
of
put
our
a giant
energy from
mirror?
it.
But we have a giant mirror behind the Earth that
You
is
would just
tidal
grow
break.
everything on
that'll
the
definitely
daytime side.
work.
And then
You
we
just
just
grow everything on the daytime side.
Okay.
okay, no, so that means
Assuming you could-
that means the daytime side could be one giant farm.
Uh-huh.
But then we would come into the problem of overpopulation on the dark side. We already have a problem of overpopulation.
On the
If
normal
we
side.
Okay, so
on
you
the
know
normal
those
Earth, if we shoved
watering
everyone,
centrifuges that they have in Nebraska, so your crops are in a circle and you have a watering system on a centrifuge and it just goes like that.
Oh,
What
you
if,
may have to
talking about
explain what
the-
a centrifuge.
what do you mean by centrifuge?
like, there's a pivot in the center
a pivot.
and then the watering system goes
Yeah.
around.
Okay, I've
Okay.
never heard
It's
it called
just
a
the length of-
centrifuge.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
A centrifuge. Yeah, it's that little.
I always think
that
of
thing where
the
you put
G-force
the-
test.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you put the little vials of like you put blood in there or something.
Okay, the
and
center pivot.
it's
crop.
It's just a
the
pivot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the center pivot
Exactly.
crop watering system. So what if on this planet, if one side was light all the time and the other side was dark? That means you could have a whole side of the planet that was all on one pivot.
Yeah. That sounds like a mechanical nightmare.
It does.
But good.
One side of the planet was all under one pivot.
She's basically saying you have a giant pivot that goes all the way across the one side of the Earth.
You could do that now. I mean,
Mm,
actually, you couldn't because
no.
you'd have to. Yeah, mechanical nightmare trying to get it
Oh,
across oceans.
What happens if like the Pacific Ocean was the area that was on the side of the sun? We would have to like make artificial
Oh.
farms on top of the ocean.
Uh-huh.
You know what I
Or
mean?
grow
Yeah,
food
I know
that
what you mean.
isn't dependent on sunlight.
That is interesting. Like if there was just happened to be no volcanic activity on that side, that we had no islands or anything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That
And
would
then
be
also, I guess
interesting.
along the lines of animals, like migrations and stuff like that. I feel like
I'm
that would
assuming,
that would
though-
still happen because of
I
you
mean-
know, we'd still have summer, fall, winter, but like
You'd get some
Actually, I guess-
really intense hurricanes on a planet like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you would.
I was trying to think of how that would work with the
Because there's
seasons.
lots of heat differential. So that's
Mhm.
how storms work. That's
Right.
what powers storms, especially hurricanes, is
Mhm.
the difference in energy from the difference in the temperature of one location
But
to
it'd be a
another. That's
greater
what
difference
powers
in
it.
energy, and then if, say, one entire side of the planet was water, then that'd have so much surface area for that to accumulate.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to. So, what I was interpreting the question as is like, okay, so we've discovered, because we have discovered exoplanets like this.
Right.
We discovered this exoplanet that we could visit or we could go live on, and one side was always night, the other side was always day. Which side would you choose to live on and why?
Can't we live on the center line?
That's what I was gonna say.
You
I'd
could.
I'd live on the
However,
meridian
let's
of
just
like
say
both.
that that's where the planet's ocean is. It's
Sure.
land on one side, or mostly land on one side, mostly land on the opposite
And
side,
then a
and
ring
then
of water.
yeah, it's just a ring of water.
Boathouse.
You could just I mean, you could get
Okay.
around it. However, you're avoiding the question, Claire.
No. So then, if we had to decide, I would go with the I think I would go on the daytime. I still think I
Yeah.
would side with that.
I probably
Yeah.
would, and I imagine life evolving on a planet like this. Assuming that life could evolve on a planet like this, uh, where
Well, liquid
your
water.
civilization, like I'm assuming that life could find a way to exist on both sides
Mm-hmm.
of the planet. However, I assume
They'd be very drastically. I'd say they're
they'd be
drastically
different.
different from each
Right,
other.
but I would assume that well, for instance, one side could be powered by photosynthesis,
Mm-hmm.
and the other side would be powered by chemosynthesis,
Okay.
That'd be cool.
which happens here on Earth at the very lowest
Low.
parts of the
The
ocean,
ocean. Yeah.
Yep, near
where
the deep
there's
sea
like
vents.
little to no sunlight whatsoever. The dress or the
Deep sea vents.
the
You may
deep sea
want to
vents, exactly.
explain that, by the way, as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So chemosynthesis, well, we're all familiar with with what photosynthesis is.
Yeah.
Plants are able to take light energy
Convert it
from the
into
sun.
energy.
They're able to convert that into energy that they can use, the
Mhm.
chemical foods that they have. So what life that uses chemosynthesis does is they take energy from, for instance, vents, hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean. They're able to take energy from that and use that to turn into their own food. It's more of a chemical process than it is a light process, which is how you differentiate between photosynthesis, light, chemosynthesis, chemicals.
Yep.
So, what was I saying? Oh, I was imagining a civilization that evolves on this planet, and I would picture that the civilization would evolve on the daytime side. So that's all they know. The early explorers would find out, okay, there's another side of this world that's always nighttime. Or well, they don't know what nighttime is, but there's another side of this world where our sun doesn't shine on. And then even later in civilization, when they start, if astronomers did become a thing in this civilization, astronomy would be something that you would have to do on one side of the planet. Like you would have to
Oh, yeah.
travel the world in order to be an astronomer.
Oh, that's true.
Uh-huh. So only one half of their global population could actually look into the cosmos unless...
Assuming the global population was evenly spread.
Yeah,
However, I was
assuming.
picturing the global population would only arise on one side of the planet.
Oh, really?
Well,
I mean, it would
because
make the most
Well,
sense.
because
yeah.
life that we know of mostly,
Well,
or
I
it's
mean-
more easily uses photosynthesis. So I just pictured photosynthesis would occur in life on the daytime
Well, I mean,
side.
assuming sentient life, like humans started
Right.
in Africa and just migrated throughout the globe, why couldn't they do that in this situation? That's just what I was assuming, and then civilizations would develop
Okay,
from there.
sure they could. They
Uh-huh.
would, however, if humans had evolved on the daytime side of Earth, assuming
Assuming
let's
that
just
there
let's just make
is-
it Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, if humans had evolved on the daytime side of Earth and then started exploring the planet, they would have to find they had been evolutionarily built, quote unquote, to live in the daytime side, and they would have to adjust in order to live on the nighttime side.
Right.
It would have to be a slow process if they wanted to just live there naturally.
So
You
this
know what I
kind
mean?
of there's a science fiction book, and I can't remember the name, but I will post, or we'll have it posted in the show notes. But it basically runs along the line of they live on a planet that is in multiple stars, and it basically lights up the entire planet. I don't remember the name. He's a very famous author, but basically it lights up the entire planet with these multiple stars, and then after every 2,000 years, there's an eclipse of these stars that are orbiting it, and they see the entire night sky of like all the stars that are like all the tiny stars that are millions and
Okay.
very far away, and it's a very dark scene compared to what they're used to. So they just freak out and they like don't know what's going on. They basically
Yeah.
destroy their civilization. And
Every
like
2,000 years.
every 2,000 years, yeah. And these scientists are trying to figure out why. Like why civilization, they don't have records every 2,000 years or something like that.
Oh, so they don't know what happened.
They don't know what happens. They just know that it just keeps
That's
resetting
interesting.
itself. But it's because they're afraid of the dark. They're so used to sunlight everywhere, and then when
Okay.
everything goes dark, they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So I just kind of thought of that because it kind of reminded me of it.
It is kind of interesting. Yeah, that daytime, nighttime side of a planet is kind of cool, and we'll probably have other discussions about this as we discover more and more exoplanets that are similar in nature.
Especially with the James Webb going up.
Yeah, right. NASA's currently working on putting up a new space telescope.
Infrared, and it should be good for transits, right? Is it transits or is it, I think it's transits.
Well, transits would be okay. So
I can't remember which one it is.
Before we have a discussion on
Yeah,
it,
you're right.
So NASA's currently working. Right now, they have Hubble, which is a space telescope. They have the Kepler Space Telescope. They have Spitzer. That's not NASA. There's NASA and the European Space Agency have all these telescopes.
A collaboration.
Yes, they have all these space telescopes. They're currently working on putting up another one called the James Webb Space Telescope.
Right.
And it will be particularly looking in the infrared range of electromagnetic radiation, infrared light, not visible light. It'll be particularly good at looking at infrared light, so they'll be able to study exoplanets in infrared. And the reason that is really essential is because planets don't glow in like the visible or UV or any of the higher wavelengths.
They're much cooler than
They're
that.
much cooler. So they glow in infrared. So our planet glows in infrared, all the other planets glow in infrared due to their surface temperatures.
Right.
So if you had a large telescope that was able to see very, small objects very far away that glows in infrared, then we'd be able to visibly see these exoplanets and not just detect them. So the transit method that Carson was referring to is like when a planet
crosses in front of it.
Right, when it passes in front of its star, we can measure the amount of the amount
light
of
intensity.
Yeah, that's coming from that star. We can see a visible dip in the light intensity, and then we can just interpret that to be a planet passing in front of the star. So, I don't think that's what the telescope is built for.
I actually can't remember. But
I'm not for sure.
We'll find something and put it in the show notes for that as well.
I mean, if it was for that, they could just build a visible light telescope.
Right.
Yeah.
Building a visible light telescope that large is, gosh, there's so much science.
Yeah, there's so much science. Yeah.
Jump into it. So
we got a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, that was a cool conversation though.
Yeah. So that's our What's With That segment. We'll hear from you in a minute. And we're back. This time with a news section brought to you by Carson.
Hey, so we all know Cassini.
Okay, hold on.
Cassini.
A little thrown off there.
I was somewhere else right here.
Before we begin each segment, we always do a clap sync, and Carson and I were competing over who could have the loudest clap. So threw Carson off. Sorry, Carson.
I didn't get another chance to make a louder clap, so I guess.
Let's hear about your article.
So we all know there's a little thing called Cassini. It took a couple pictures, stuff like that. Whatever.
all that
But-
good stuff.
might actually be people who don't.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so Cassini was orbiting around Saturn, taking pictures of its rings and getting other scientific data from it. But it also took pictures of Titan,
The moon.
the moon.
Right.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about this is that it has lakes and seas, kind of like Earth,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
but they're methane and ethane seas. So
Right.
they're
Like liquid.
they're liquid though. Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, wait, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
we
we
have talked about
have.
this on one, I believe, before. But what's interesting is that from these pictures they found, they analyzed that the three largest seas
Mm-hmm.
were at about the same elevation, so they weren't
Hmm.
like varying heights. And what this means is that what they assume that what they're assuming right now is that since there is a certain sea level on Titan, that like to maintain the uniformity, they must be connected through channels to keep this height the same.
Oh,
Mhm.
gotcha.
And
Like the surface of the
yeah,
water
the
is always
the surface
same,
of the level is all the same on these three
even
seas.
though the elevation of the surrounding land is not.
There are
Okay, that's what I
mountain.
was
There are
picturing.
mountain. They actually have an image on here that we'll put in the show notes that has the elevation, and it shows mountain range, like mountains, and then the deeper levels of the sea,
Okay.
and they're all corresponding right next to each other.
Interesting.
But what's interesting is that there's basically channels where water can go underground, just like Earth,
Mhm.
Water?
or not water.
not
Sorry,
water.
methane.
I was saying, that's
But
water.
I was comparing it to the water on Earth to keep the
Gotcha.
sea levels the same. And I thought that was very interesting because it shows even more that like its structure is
Right,
so
yeah.
similar to ours.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a case where um, we can look at something on the surface and interpret something else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Good old that's pretty much what we have to do though for planetary science because like we can't like
We can't really.
whatever
See
Cassini
it.
the tools that Cassini has or the tools that our space probes have is the
Mhm.
only ones that we can work with. We can't just land it on the planet and do a little exploration.
We
And then
basically get
try
these
to-
data and pictures back and have to
Yeah.
analyze it and like understand. We have to be like
Yeah.
this. It looks like this, so what could cause this, and then come up with theories for
Exactly.
what could
So we're
cause
kind of
that.
so just by looking at the surface of Titan, we're figuring out what the structure of it underground is.
Yep. Which could lead to. Could there be other life forms that could live in this methane and
Oh,
ethane?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
if the lakes and the seas are so similar to us, there may be the same chance for life, a different type of life, silicon based, to
Mhm.
like happen there as well.
Maybe silicon
Maybe
based. We don't even really
silicon-based.
know.
Well, we don't really know for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. That
But-
that is really interesting though, the underground channels.
Mhm.
I like that.
And another thing that I've always found really interesting about this is that, so for water, we have a certain zone away from a star called the habitable zone where water is a liquid.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have a zone that's actually smaller than the zone for water where methane and ethane is a liquid. And that's one thing I think is really cool about that
Because it's a
that
very
zone
low
is-
temperature, so it's
Yeah.
farther away.
Mhm. But that zone is so much smaller than the liquid zone for water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So it makes me think, we were just talking about the, hunting for exoplanets.
Mhm.
Makes me think though, we find if we found life on Titan
Sure.
that was able to exist in these liquid methane lakes, then we would start like renewing the search for exoplanets, except we wouldn't be looking for planets in the habitable zones of their stars. We would be, which we describe as the zone where liquid water can exist. We would
Mhm.
also be looking for planets that lie
Oh,
in
okay.
the liquid methane zones of their stars,
Mhm.
because we know that life can exist in both of them, which would like
Which would
essentially
double,
double
it,
the yeah.
possibly. Well,
Well, not
with the
double,
habitable
but-
zone for liquid methane and ethane to exist, it's much smaller.
Right,
Mhm.
it's a much
It's a
smaller
much
zone.
smaller, but
But
it
you
does
can
give us a
round up.
higher
It's
chance still.
essentially it's essentially doubling the possibilities of where
Finding-
life could
yeah,
exist somewhere. That would require though require some more study in that life, the whatever life form that we have, because we wouldn't know how to detect it.
So exobiology would be a thing.
Would be
Oh,
a
we're
thing. We
bringing
would
it
finally
all
be-
back again to exobiology. Yeah.
That reminds me. So we don't currently know how to do this, but it is in the plans for science, technology. I don't know. That do we
Okay.
have a plans for science? I don't know.
Yes, all of
But
science has a singular plan.
Well, to find
one,
what the
one giant
universe is.
conspiracy. As we try to prove with the whole "what's on the fourth floor" thing. Okay.
That's the main goal of science.
Uh-huh.
um, but it's conceivable that in the next couple of decades we will be able to like detect the chemical compounds in the atmospheres of
Mhm.
planets orbiting other stars,
Mhm.
and so we can look for particular compounds that would be able to tell us whether or not life is existing on that world.
Mhm.
Because, for instance, oxygen is actually a really rare thing to have in the atmosphere of a planet
Right.
because oxygen is highly reactive. So if there was ever any free oxygen in the atmosphere of a planet, it would just react with the iron and the soil and whatnot, and it would eventually the oxygen
Become a
levels,
chemical compound.
right, the
Mhm.
oxygen levels in the atmosphere would decrease,
Hmm.
and so you're mostly left with whatever else is in the atmosphere.
Well, and the other
Mhm.
sign is that if you see pure oxygen, like just oxygen, you can make a good assumption that there has to be some form of life creating
Well, it doesn't
that.
even have to
Right.
be pure. That's what the point I'm saying. Like, if you see a substantial amount
Oh,
of
sure,
oxygen,
yeah.
Mhm.
if there's enough oxygen in the atmosphere that we can see it from light years away,
Hmm.
that is a good sign that
That
there is
something
some
is
sort of
producing.
life. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the reason that we have oxygen in our atmosphere is that we have plant life here to sustain that level of oxygen. Um, so it makes sense that if we can see oxygen in other planets' atmospheres, then there should be some sort of life there that's keeping it.
Keeping the
Mhm.
Yeah,
oxygen
keeping
from
the
not
oxygen.
interacting,
Now
like
there are
or
other,
not
yeah,
keeping or
Not
having
interacting,
so
but
much oxygen
well,
that
just
there isn't.
resupplying it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
constantly
resupplying it.
resupplying it. So
Mhm.
yeah, some cool things for the future. I mean, oxygen.
So could we
There are
find?
other ways, though. I mean, I actually just did a research project on this, but
Hmm.
there are other ways for us to see those oxygen chemical signatures that wouldn't lead to a conclusion of life, but we're working on trying to figure out a way that we can eliminate that for our data. We still don't
Mhm.
have a way to actually see the oxygen, but
So first things first.
first things first. Yeah,
First things
exactly.
first.
Then start a whole new field of science.
Exactly. Yeah. Incredible how talking about Titan leads us to talking about other planets around other stars.
Mhm.
Well, if we find more like it, there's a higher possibility for us to find life, just because we can
Exactly.
study more of them and figure out how they work.
Exactly.
That actually reminds me of something called the Kardashev scale. I think that's not how you pronounce it, but I probably butchered that. But it's basically like levels of technological advancement.
Oh, was this like a type 1 civilization or type?
Or no, so
Oh, I know what
This
that
must be
we
is.
this
different.
could
Okay.
still be a type 0 civilization. So basically, type 0 is where we are. We have
Right.
technology, but we're not producing technology on a global scale. We don't have the resources to effectively utilize all the energy we have, even
our
on our home
planet.
planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
hmm So basically, as you move up in these different types of civilizations, first is, well, 0 is the one we're at. First is global level. Second is stellar level. Third is like your home universe, or not
Galaxy?
galaxy. There we
Or
go.
okay.
Yeah, fourth is home universe.
That's incredible. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that classification
Well, because it's
system
basically
went up
just
that high.
saying that like you can harness the energy from that scale. So
On
like
Right.
on that scale.
on that
exactly.
scale.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
if you
and
can
we
harvest your
we can't even-
sun, if you
Mhm.
can harness your sun's energy, you can
yeah.
effectively have the solar system under your belt, and
Yeah.
it goes higher and higher as you get out of that.
Mhm. So basically, the theory behind this is that technological advancement will run parallel to the amount of energy you're able to effectively utilize.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
And this just reminded me of this because, like, before you get to that level, you have to go out into your solar system, you have to start colonizing other planets.
Before you get to what level? The level of like seeing other
Like,
atmospheres and
no, the level of your home galaxy. I mean,
oh
there's
yeah,
there's some point along the level of technological advancement you have to go out into the universe and
right,
look at all of these
and
things.
start colonizing other places and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Yeah, which we would want to know.
Yeah.
Where can we go?
Mhm.
If we have the possibility of traveling to other stars, what star do we travel to?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Which is why we want to look.
for
at these
more and
atmospheres,
more
yeah,
planets that can
because
have
we can
life on
also
them.
see in these well, when we have the technology to, we would be able to see, you know, is there water in the atmosphere? Is there um, obviously oxygen? Is there carbon dioxide for plant life? You know, like because we would want to sustain ourselves somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all those signs of habitability that would tell us that if we wanted to move somewhere, we could move there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool stuff. I have another um, uh, news article to throw in if we want to talk about it real quick.
Okay.
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one, it's kind of big astronomy news, as always. Only one I ever talk about. Um, recently, recently, astronomers located a supermassive black hole that is the furthest point away that we've ever seen a supermassive black hole, and is also the largest object we have ever seen.
Bigger than our own. Or
Bigger
well,
than.
which one was bigger? Andromeda was the biggest one.
Are we talking
Sagittarius.
Super
Or the
massive black
previous
holes.
supermassive black hole.
Okay, so let me give a little bit of background,
Gotcha.
and then might answer your question. Um, there's these things called quasars. Have you ever heard of a quasar?
I
Yep.
think so.
It comes from it's spelled Quarsar, quasar. Yeah. It comes from the term quasi star
Mm-hmm.
because they're super luminous objects, but they're super far away. And the reason they're so luminous is they're black holes, supermassive black holes, and
Yeah.
dust and gas around these black holes are being attracted, and they're falling in and spiraling into these black holes so fast that it's heating the gas up
Mm-hmm.
to extremely high temperatures, and that makes it really luminous, and so we can see these things. So quasars are the most distant objects that we can see.
Mm-hmm.
So this astronomer, what's his name?
Which, if you bring that back to the black body radiation that we talked about in a previous podcast, that's the same type of deal. Where if you heat it up
Right,
enough,
yeah.
the
Why
wavelength
it's
you'll see
glowing
is
is because you're
much
heating it up.
brighter. Yep.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So these astronomers they can look out at the distant universe and they can see these the furthest objects that we can see. Now, also you have to keep in mind that looking out into the universe is also looking back in time
Mm-hmm.
because it takes time for that light to travel to us. So these super far away places are also the same as looking back to the early universe. So he found like a really, really early, quote unquote, time.
Mm-hmm.
He saw it, and this supermassive black hole is 800 million times more massive than our sun, which is it blows all of the estimates that we would have ever that we had ever predicted for how the early universe behaved. We never
Huh.
thought that massive of an object could have formed that early on in the universe. Because this
Yeah,
or
how
what
far
was it?
back is that?
It was 690 million years after the Big Bang.
That's it.
Which
What?
690 million years.
Wow,
Exactly.
That's
that's
it.
no
Yeah,
time at
exactly.
all. Like if you
Okay.
think about the
It's been
universe.
currently right now it's 13.8 billion years
Right.
or so after the Big Bang. So
Almost
only
14
700
times as
million
much.
Mhm.
is like essentially a baby picture of the universe.
Yeah.
Right.
And we find something that weighs 800 million times more than our sun.
In
And-
that in that little amount of time.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And our current models for how the universe developed says that should have been impossible. It should have been impossible for such a massive object to have
To collect that much mass
exactly
in that short of time.
in that short of time. Exactly. So it brings up questions as to okay, we obviously don't understand. I mean, we know that we don't understand how the early universe behaved, but we really
Right.
don't understand how the universe really behaved. So this is like big astronomy news.
Yeah, it
Oh, yeah.
shatters
Exactly.
at least a lot of thoughts.
A lot of
Mhm.
physicists out there are getting to work. They're rubbing their hands together,
They're excited.
pulling
Uh-huh.
out a whole new piece of chalk for this one. So they need, yeah. I could go into the science of why it's more massive than we would have predicted, but I'm not going to. We'll just link it in the show notes if you're interested.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And that's all for our news section. Join us back in a few seconds. we're back. This time I'm hosting a trivia section featuring weird jargon.
Weird jargon.
Yep.
Jargon.
Weird
Okay.
jargon. Now, this is...
This sounds a lot like Quiz Bowl. I know Carter and I have talked about this. Like we did Quiz Bowl in high school. Do you guys know what Quiz Bowl?
I did not do Quiz Bowl, but I do know what it is.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I might be good at this.
Okay, so...
Not to toot my own horn or anything.
Okay, so basically how this is gonna work is I'm gonna say a term, and you guys have to guess what it is.
Okay.
The person who answers first
Wait,
and
like what it means?
Oh,
correctly.
first.
Yes,
Oh, no.
first and correctly.
Oh, okay.
Do we
Uh-huh.
can
Risk
we like
is a
ask
clock.
for hints as time goes on?
Is
Yeah,
this,
you can ask for hints as time goes on.
Okay.
So is this like Quiz Bowl where you buzz in?
I think
Like
we just
don't have a
yell it
buzzer.
out,
If
right?
you signal, you get the floor?
Yeah.
How do we
but
signal?
signal is just talking.
Okay.
So
Alright.
yes, you signal with your voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have to guess the definition.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And sorry, what was the two things? I totally spaced out.
What two
Definition?
things?
You said.
The who answers first and correctly.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's just definition.
Just okay. The first one is from my theater days in high school. So,
Okay.
what is a psych?
Psych.
I know a
is-
psychic.
A psych is
A psych is when you psych someone out.
how's it spelled?
No.
Oh.
CYC, if you're abbreviating. The full word is cyclorama.
Oh, yeah, different
Mhm.
spelling than I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make
it's
it cyclorama.
CYC.
It's like a panorama.
hmm
Just saying words
Uh,
now.
it's
I'm just saying
large.
words.
It's large. It's hanging somewhere.
Oh, it's an object. It's
yes,
a noun.
it's
a
an
noun.
object. Yes, it's a
Uh,
noun.
2 words. It's a noun.
It's a cyclorama. It's a okay.
Mhm.
Is it one of those like
Oh,
spinny
oh,
wheels?
it's like
on,
a it's like a
Wheel of
giant tarp. It's like a green screen but with painting on it.
No, but you're
It's
close.
a background.
Yes, it's a background of a specific color.
Oh,
Cyan.
Blue.
No.
Isn't
no.
blue and cyan the same?
yeah, it is. Okay, green,
No.
red,
No.
purple,
No.
yellow,
No.
green.
No.
Dang it.
Keep going.
350 nanometers.
What?
Oh, we already
That's
said
not
that.
Well,
the
that's
color.
like that's not even invisible light. You got an
Is it?
ultraviolet light one because it's like 400 is the. Okay, anyways, infrared,
Ultraviolet.
No.
microwave,
No.
radio.
I think we give up.
Dang it.
It's a white sheet that's basically it's a single
Oh, we
a
guessed
single-
everything but white.
white piece
This
of
is-
fabric. Like there's no that spans the entire length of the back of the stage. It's
Oh.
There's a special name for that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Uh-huh.
We said every color, but I yelled out so
you
many
It's not
didn't
a
say
color.
colors.
black
That's
either.
not a color.
It's all the colors.
If it's light.
If it's light.
Visible spectrum.
white is. I don't
Okay,
know.
so basically this really
Sweating.
long piece of fabric is all stitched as one piece, so there are no seams anywhere on it.
Wow.
Mhm.
What's the
Full
point?
stage.
Okay, so what it's usually used for is to block off the very back, and
Oh, okay.
then you put backlights on the psych, so you can
Oh.
do whatever background colors you want and lighting effects.
Ah.
hmm
Learn
So
something new every day.
So I take it as
Alright,
no
I'm ready to
points
get points.
rewarded for
yeah,
that one.
that's
Yeah.
that's no points
I'm
for
ready to get points.
anyone.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay,
Rubbing my hands together here. Here we go.
okay. Oh, what should I choose as the next one? Okay, guys. What's Hell Week? This is also from theater. Hell Week.
It's obviously the week
before
before your
a
opening
performance.
night.
Correct.
Ah, I was
I
trying
started
to.
talking first.
I was trying to get under there and get that. Yeah.
Okay.
I can see why it'd be Hell Week though.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
For the same reason Dead Week is a thing in college.
That was the
Yeah.
first thing I thought of.
Yep. It's also called Tech Week.
No, but
But-
it's technically called Tech Week. And
It's
then,
technically called Tech
everybody
Week,
refers
but
to it as Hell
everyone
Week.
refers to it as Hell Week because, let's be honest, that's so much more accurate.
So
Mhm.
what is he thinking for points?
Let's go with a marble.
Whole marble already.
Nice shiny
Mhm.
one.
All right, I gotta catch
Yep.
up here.
Okay.
A cyan marble.
Sure, a cyan marble.
Don't look at me like that, Carson.
500 nanometer marble.
Okay.
Okay. Also from theater. What's a thespian?
Oh, it's an instrument, isn't it?
No.
No, a
Well,
thespian.
What's a thespian?
uh,
A thespian is. Oh, I've heard this before though.
it's a
Mhm.
singer,
A singer.
a
Mm,
yodeler.
no.
Oh,
No.
oh
it's-
no.
It's
Too specific.
What?
A thespian is
A choir?
No.
a background noisemaker. Somebody who's just paid to like hum into a
No.
mic.
Oh, is it people that like
Well, it can
talk?
be.
Is it like people that mumble the same word over and over again?
Is
Not
it a role?
you're all being too specific. You
It's
could call
sound.
any of these people you have described a thespian.
Oh, it's
sound
just a theater
engineer.
a theater person.
Yeah.
Theater actor.
Uh-huh.
Just an actor?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting destroyed. All
Well,
right.
technically, not just an actor.
She
You
gave
can
us some
refer to
nice hints,
techies
though.
as thespians too. Anyone who is in theater can be
Gotcha.
referred to
Is
as
all
a
this jargon just
thespian.
from theater?
Yeah, all this is just from theater.
Like,
Oh,
I
really
that's
have a,
testing me.
it's the
Okay.
yeah, I have
theater.
a whole
Okay.
list of this. Ethan, you get 2 shrimp.
Oh.
I don't even
Interesting.
know what a shrimp converts to or something.
It's got to be at least a point
Yeah, what is the relation between shrimp and marble?
to points. To Tau.
Is points
It's
even a thing?
it-
We don't even
We're
know.
not using
We don't
points.
have
Marbles
points
is our
yet.
base
Alright,
currency
here we
Okay,
go.
today.
so our
There's-
shrimp are base unit, and then I think shrimp are our base unit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next one. What does actor proof mean?
Well, it might be something related to the tech part of theater. If you can build something that the actor doesn't destroy or mess up or break.
Bingo.
Yes!
Actually,
2 weeks in a row, Ethan.
It's as if I would spend
Uh,
my whole life in theater.
2 weeks in a row, Ethan demolishes
Uh-huh.
trivia.
Apparently. So, in a sentence, just things actors can't break. It's Tech Week. Make sure everything is actor proof.
Alrighty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want something break on opening night. Holy crap.
Basically, anything that can go wrong, assume it will go wrong. I have a story about making something actor proof.
But I got to catch up on points here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here we
you
go.
do. You get a gold star for that one.
Ah.
What are safeties?
Safeties are, they're going to be like railings so you don't fall off the stage.
Backup props.
No and no.
Oh, okay.
Railings so you don't fall on the stage.
Well, hey,
Those
you know,
are called railings.
you get really into the acting and you just tumble
Is
over.
that even a
We did
thing?
have
I've never
someone who
seen
was
it.
hypnotized and almost danced off the stage
Okay, so let's
with
see.
their eyes
Safety.
closed.
Safety.
Yeah.
Backup crew.
Yeah, it sounds like a
No.
Backup actors?
something.
It not a backup something. It's something to secure something.
Okay, a safety is
It's like, is it the wood things that hold up the props, like in the back?
No.
Okay.
Okay, you use safeties on flies. Flies are the giant metal pipes that go over the stage and hold a lot of weight. They have a
So is it like a
balance-
rope that
Oh,
holds a
balance
person up?
system.
And then you can hang your backgrounds
Yeah,
from the
uh-huh.
flies. Okay.
So, if you lock the safety in on the flies, what are you doing?
You keep them in place.
Yeah.
Hey!
Yay.
Why'd you do it?
Yeah.
Okay, how many points does he get? Or what does
Uh,
he get for that one?
Let's go with a marble on that
Oh,
one.
that's it. Oh man. Actually,
We
I
have
don't
no
know. That could
idea
be
We
the
don't even
best.
know
one
what
is.
the
All right.
I got a
we
gold
don't even
star.
know what
haha.
the
Like, I don't
marble
even know.
to, or is it shrimp to marble to gold star conversion on this?
I don't even know anymore.
One more, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we got one more, I think.
What do you do when you thumbnail something?
Ooh, I know what a thumbnail is in terms of.
Oh, it's when like the entire stage freezes.
No.
Dang it.
What?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking like
A
a thumbnail on a
thumbnail.
video.
When you
Yeah.
thumbnail something in a set, what are you doing?
Making it a smaller
No.
thumbnail something in a set.
Okay, you
Wait, is it like tacking? Like you're just putting it putting it there?
We're going for the
Kind
literal
of.
Less
term.
permanent.
no more permanent.
It's more permanent.
Yeah.
More permanent than the final thing?
No,
That's
it's
what I'm
it's
okay.
part of the final thing. So you have a screw gun when you're thumbnailing something.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's like it's just screwing it together. Screwing
it to what?
The
to
floor?
the stage.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh.
we need a tie.
Oh.
Do we have
What are we doing? What are we doing here?
a tiebreaker to win it all?
Trivia
Right here?
master?
I don't have a theater one. I do have a ROTC one.
Oh, that would be.
Does
Okay,
that
yeah, let's do that. I like
No,
that
that's
idea.
not.
No, it's
It's
okay.
something that I don't think he will know.
Okay.
Okay, well, Carson was in, were you junior?
JROTC.
And also the real thing.
For a
This
little
is
bit,
cool,
yeah.
But I'll go along with it.
Okay.
This is rigged.
Okay. What's a FOD walk?
A FOD walk?
Yeah. What's
Is
a
it like where
FOD
they make the
walk?
freshmen walk?
Nope.
I don't know this one.
Nope.
Sort of.
So it's
I
got
have
something to
no
do with like
idea.
walk the plank, I think, or
Nope.
Like the plank?
Nope. Nope.
What ROTC did you do?
the pirates.
This is
Walking the
Air
plank.
Force specific.
Air
a-
Force ROTC.
Air Force
A
ROTC.
FOD walk.
If you're
I
doing
give
a
up.
FOD
I
walk,
have no- I
okay.
would-
Yeah.
So
I-
you have a runway. FOD walk stands for foreign object detection. So if you're doing a FOD walk,
it's
you
when
have to.
when you walk and look for trash. Basically, like everybody lines up and like after an event happens and they like walk and they pick up trash.
The
But you're
FOD walk.
But basically,
you're right next to each other, so
Mhm.
you cover the entire area.
basically you have a runway and you have these giant jets which suck a bunch of air in when they start to take off.
Right.
So if there's any debris on the runway or foreign objects, then they'll just be sucked into the engine.
Yeah, that's not good.
So
No,
that's what a
that's a
FOD
FOD
walk
walk.
is.
All right,
But
we-
I'm gonna
point
give
totaling?
you both a shrimp for the
I think
stage.
Ethan
Ethan.
rolled the competition on this one.
Yeah. Same as the last
I
podcast.
give you a bow, sir.
Mm. One bow for.
One bow.
One bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
All
tacking it all on.
Uh-huh. And I think that's it for today. I'm
Lot
your
of fun.
host. Yep.
That's it for what's on the. But what? Hold on a
But what
second.
is on the fourth floor?
We still haven't figured that out.
No. I still think it's a merit-based system. You get there so that you don't do something else. So
You don't have
basically,
to do a FOD walk. You don't have to take this deadly game.
That's where they're
I
actually
won, so I
building the
suppose.
James Webb Space Telescope.
on the fourth floor.
They're building it on the fourth floor.
Yeah,
Are they gonna launch it from Jargon?
They will. Yeah, Jorgen's in
Hello? If you're still here, it's because you're looking for more. If that's the case, check us out on Facebook at What's on the Fourth Floor and Twitter at OnFloor4. Again, that's Facebook, What's on the Fourth Floor, Twitter at OnFloor4. That's at OnFloor, the number 4.